You're listening to the Life Coaching Secrets Podcast, episode 144. Did you know that life coaches are needed now more than ever? I'm Frank Macri, founder of Thriving Coach Academy. I've trained over 1,000 coaches and helped them launch their own successful coaching businesses. If you want to make an incredible income and impact as a coach and have a lot of fun doing it, I'll show you exactly how to get it done. This is Life Coaching Secrets. What's up, coaches? In this episode, I'm going to talk about coaching styles and how to understand the different ways in which you can coach in a session. I'm really excited for this one, and I've done a lot of research, taken a lot of notes, so I'm eager to break it down. And before I do so, I wanted to acknowledge you all, my listeners. I got a Spotify Wrapped report, which is Spotify's way of showing you the progress that your podcast has made over the past year and how your listeners have changed. And I got some really amazing data. For 257 of you listeners, the Life Coaching Secrets podcast is your number one show. So big shout out to the 257 of you where we are the number one podcast. For 971 of you, we are ranked in your top 5 podcasts that you listen to, which is incredible. So thank you. So happy to be in your top 5. And then for 1,632 people, the Life Coaching Secrets podcast is in your top 10 podcasts that you've listened to over the past year. And overall, our show has 160% increase in the listeners, and that is amazing. We so appreciate the new listeners that have found us over this past year. It has been such an incredible year, almost 3 years in the making now doing the show. I want to really thank you all for tuning in and sending me messages. Some of you reach out on Instagram. Some of you directly message us through email. And it's always cool to hear how much the show's meant to you. And please do remember to leave our podcast a review on whatever platform you listen to. It means the world to me. So we have the 1,600 plus of you where this show is in your top 10, but we don't have nearly close to 1,600 reviews. So please remember to take a minute, write a couple of sentences about what you enjoy about the show. And I absolutely love hearing that. So with that said, let us dive into our coaching styles. Now, a coaching style is how it is that you engage with your clients. And I'm going to share with you a couple of different styles that you might incorporate. Now, and when you're brand new to coaching, you'll notice that your coaching style will start to emerge and you'll begin to fall into this coaching style. And one of the challenges I see some coaches face is they keep themselves stuck in the same exact style. One of the things that I found to be really useful as a coach over the past decade is by switching up my coaching style every now and then. So one of the reasons why this is really beneficial to your clients is it spices things up, right? When your clients kind of get the same exact experience when they work with you, they are not only going to find the coaching process to be more predictable, but they're also going to continue getting the same results. And if your client is stuck, one of the reasons why they might be stuck is perhaps they are just stuck within the coaching style that you are giving them. So by incorporating a different coaching style in your session, you may spark new insights for your client, and you may also encourage them to get new results. So when I go through this, I want you to think about what is the current style that you coach with right now, and what is a coaching style that you might want to try on, that you may want to begin incorporating into your sessions. Now, when it comes to coaching that I like to receive, it's often a question I think about, what kind of coaching style do I like? And you may also consider this for yourself. What kind of coaching style do you like? I know for me, I like hiring a coach who I know is going to keep it real with me, who's going to be direct. They are going to be pointing out my blind spots, but I also know that I don't want someone who is going to be belittling or condescending or like a drill sergeant. I find that I do really appreciate having a coach who's also able to be affirming and encouraging while both being direct and honest with me at the same time. So I like receiving a blend of both the challenging coach, but also a coach that is affirming. So as I go through these styles, I want you to think about, again, what kind of coaching style do you want to try on, but also what kind of coaching style do you appreciate receiving? Because when you work with a coach, it's sometimes really helpful for you to tell them the approach that you're looking to benefit from or receive. All right, so there are two scales of coaching styles that I'm going to go over in this episode. One is the scale of being affirming to being challenging. And you might place yourself somewhere on that scale, being affirming at one end of the scale to challenging on the other end of the scale. And the other scale I'm going to go over is being enthusiastic versus being calm. So on one end of that scale is being calm, on the other end is enthusiastic. So let's start with challenging versus affirming. Now, when I talk about being an affirming coach, what I mean by that is being someone that has a gentle approach with your clients. You are very encouraging with them. This does not mean that you are coddling your client or pitying your client or indulging in their drama. So you want to make sure when you do incorporate these different coaching styles that you don't overdo it, because there are negatives that your clients might experience. So here are some of the challenges if you are taking a more affirming coaching style with your client that you want to consider. Some of the signs that you're being too soft are if you are consistently avoiding having a difficult conversation with your client or offering them tools that you know will challenge them. Another sign you're being too soft is if you are giving them excessive reassurance without also recognizing areas for their improvement. Another sign is if you are allowing your client to stay in their comfort zone without challenging them to grow. Another sign is if you are ignoring or you are downplaying unmet commitments that your client aren't making, missed deadlines that they might be experiencing. If you're ignoring that, if you're allowing your client to repeatedly avoid accountability for their actions, then this is going to cause more challenge for your client. Another sign you might be too affirming is if you're noticing your client is setting goals that are not stretching them at all. They're easily achievable. They are not, like I said, stretching themselves at all. You want to make sure when you're setting goals with your clients that there's some kind of stretch that's incorporated. Another sign you're being too affirming is if you are rescuing your clients from their challenges instead of empowering your clients to find solutions. This is why in the Academy we teach you so deeply it's one of our core philosophies of coaching is to see your clients as a hero and not see your role as someone that needs to rescue them, fix them, or solve their problems for them, but rather see them as heroes and invite them to rise to the occasion by asking them questions and using tools to support them in connecting to their heroic self. And then finally, another sign that you might be over-affirming a client and being too soft as a coach is if you are fostering a dependency between you and your client rather than encouraging independence and self-efficacy. So if you are, again, fostering dependency, so your client is dependent on you rather than you supporting them and becoming more independent. So one specific example of how being too affirming and too soft might sound in a coaching session is, let's say you start a session out, it's a follow-up session with a client, and they start out by telling you that they haven't been able to get some things done that they said they would accomplish between the previous session and now. A coach that's too affirming might say, I hope you're doing well. I noticed that there were a few tasks from our last session you haven't completed yet. Don't worry about it. No pressure at all. I just want to see how you're doing. I know you've got so much on your plate. I totally understand if things are getting a bit overwhelming for you right now. And the client might say, oh yeah, thanks for being understanding. Things have been hectic. I'll just get to those tasks eventually. Now, in this type of scenario, the coach is avoiding addressing the incomplete tasks directly and really getting to what's at the bottom of why the client is not taking action. When clients aren't taking action, it's so important to dig deep and understand what's going on, because otherwise you are enabling your client to continue to stay stuck, and you're giving them like positive reinforcement on why it's not important for them. Like, they don't have to do anything because they're going to get encouraged by you. Even if they don't take action, they're going to get lots of love and praise and acknowledgement for you. By you. So it's going to give them this positive reinforcement that's not going to serve them. So when you might wonder, is it useful to be affirming and use a more soft and affirming coaching style? Well, when your client is wanting to build confidence, if one of their goals is to become more confident, then having a very encouraging and affirming coaching style where you offer them praise, this is going to be very helpful for them to help build their confidence. So if you've ever heard the expression, don't kick someone when they're down, this is one example of that. I find that whenever I am starting to get into a new habit or learning something new, I really appreciate having a coach or a professional that uses a coaching style that is very soft and affirming. Like when I started learning clarinet was when I was a kid, really young, but also, as I just randomly said that, it did help when I was in elementary school learning clarinet, just like when I started learning piano a couple years ago. Really, my piano teacher uses a lot of coaching. I really appreciate how she's very affirming and encouraging, because I notice that when I mess something up, I beat myself up, and it's really helpful to have her be very encouraging and affirming, just like when I was learning clarinet as a kid in school. So I find that when you're wanting to build confidence in something that you're new at, it's really helpful to have a softer approach. Now, we definitely do a blend of both inside the academy when it comes to the coaching style that we give to our coaches and the feedback we deliver. When our coaches are earlier on, we are giving them a lot of the encouragement and the affirmation, but we're also challenging them, especially as they develop, and that once they get those foundational skills, we start to challenge more. We start to be more direct because they already have that confidence in themselves. So this is one example of when it's useful to use a soft approach. Another is when your client is really needing emotional support. So when your client is going through a challenging time, they're facing a personal struggle, a softer approach is going to give them that emotional support that's going to really benefit them versus a more direct, tough, and aggressive approach. So that is one coaching style. That is the soft and affirming approach. Now, on the other end of the scale is being more challenging and tough. So think of this like hard coaching. So right away, you might have some ideas around what tough and challenging coaching might look like. What it does not mean, remember, you can always overdo it. So if you overdo it, then this is where you become mean and condescending. And we don't mean this at all when we say to be a direct and a challenging coach. So some of the signs you might be too direct, you might be too challenging with your clients, so too much hard coaching, is if you are using harsh language with your client that demoralizes them. You don't want to be doing that. Or if you are focusing so much on what your client is doing wrong without acknowledging their efforts or acknowledging the effort, just like even the small thing that they're doing to hit their goals. If you're constantly pointing out their flaws without offering some kind of acknowledgement or guidance on improvement, then this is going to further lower your client's motivation. Another sign of coaching, a coaching style that would be too hard and too tough, is if you are ignoring and dismissing any signs of emotional distress or overwhelm within your client. Another sign is if you have a confrontational tone with your client that fosters resistance rather than encouragement and motivation, then this also might be getting in your client's way. And then overall, if you're neglecting to express belief in your client and their ability to overcome their challenges, these are the ways in which you might be overdoing a more direct and challenging coaching style. So here's how it might sound in a session. Let's say that a client, similar to the previous scenario, a client shows up to a follow-up session and they have not taken action. They haven't followed through with what they said they were going to follow through on. The coach might say, listen, we need to talk about your performance because it has been subpar, to say the least. The last goal you set was a total disaster, and I am not impressed. You really need to step up your game. I don't have time for your excuses, and frankly, I'm not interested in hearing them. So if you can't handle the pressure, then maybe this coaching is not for you. So the client might respond with, wow, okay, that's kind of harsh. I didn't really expect you to be so critical. I guess I'm going to try harder. So in this scenario, the coach is being very confrontational and there's a demoralizing tone. The client might become defensive and they also might become demotivated. And you don't want that to happen. So the coach is focusing on what the client's doing wrong without offering a more constructive approach that could support the client in moving forward. So you might wonder, when is it useful to be a direct and a challenging coach? Well, one situation is when you're holding your clients accountable. So in situations where accountability is going to be helpful for a client, it's definitely helpful to have a direct and a challenging approach with your clients. You want to support your clients in taking responsibility for their actions and making sure that they're clear in the actions that they're going to follow through on. Also, if in urgent situations, so in challenges that might require quick action from a client or a very direct, then a more direct approach may be necessary to use with your clients when they're in an urgent situation and action has to be taken quickly. Maybe there's some kind of crisis that has come up in their life. In these situations, it might really benefit the client to be more assertive and direct and hold them accountable so that way they're taking that fast action that needs to happen. And then overall, another time when it's useful to be a more challenging and direct coach is when you want to help nudge your client out of their comfort zone. So a lot of times your clients, this is the reason why they're hiring you. They want new results. So that means they need to be doing things differently. They can't keep doing things as they were doing them. Otherwise, they're just going to keep getting the same results. So there comes an opportunity for all coaches to be more challenging and to hold your clients accountable. Oftentimes I find that a lot of, especially coaches that we've trained in the academy, if there's any opportunity for evolution in their coaching, it's to be more challenging with their clients. So a lot of the coaches that I've trained by nature, I find are more affirming and gentle, which is amazing, fantastic. And as we covered, really does serve a purpose. So the opportunity that arises for many coaches when they evolve in their coaching is to see how you can be direct and you can be challenging with your clients. You can hold them more accountable to their goals. You can point out their blind spots. You can recognize the incongruencies in what they're thinking or saying versus what they're doing and the actions they're taking. So this is what we mean when we say pushing and nudging your client out of their comfort zone. This is necessary. It's required for people to get bigger results in their life. So that is what the difference is between being a more soft and affirming coach versus a hard and challenging coach. Now, another coaching style scale to consider is being calm versus being enthusiastic. And I find this one to be really interesting. And I noticed that it came up quite clearly in a recent group call we had inside Thriving Coach Academy, where sometimes we have calls where a couple of our instructors will coach a few of our students as a way to demonstrate different coaching styles, but also to show our coaches what it looks like to put all the skills together and even go beyond the tools we teach and show them how we can use the different approaches in creative ways that we teach. So I was one of the instructors along with another one of our instructors. And it was really cool to see how our coaches noticed that there's really not a better or worse or one cookie cutter way to coach, but it's just about trying on different styles that benefit the client. So the approach that I happen to take with the client in the session I modeled was a much more calm approach, whereas the other instructor on the call, she was more enthusiastic with the client. And both of our clients had different challenges and they both were satisfied with the coaching. And it was so cool to see just how you don't have to have the same coaching style to get amazing results with your client. So an example of an enthusiastic approach. So this is you think of your energy level that you have in your sessions with your clients. And notice as I share this, which one by default you might have and which one you might want to try on. I've varied between these different approaches, and it's really interesting to see the different responses and results that it helps create with your clients. So an enthusiastic coach, if you're on that side of the scale, this means you're very high energy. And this is the benefit of this is it's going to help lift a client up. It's going to lift their spirits up. It can be very inspirational to have high energy, be an enthusiastic coach in the session. Maybe you know some people who inspire you because of their high energy or their enthusiasm. Now, going too far, remember, we can always go too far. If you are too enthusiastic, it might become a turnoff for your client. It might be overbearing or overwhelming for them, or even be perceived as like a little bit too aggressive or like overwhelmed with all the energy. Maybe you've also met individuals where their energy is so high and it's sometimes too much for you. So you want to be aware of when you are being an enthusiastic coach and you're using that style to not go too far with it. Now, on the other side of the scale is being a more calm coach. Now, this is more low energy. Now, low energy, you might have a negative connotation with that. When I say low energy, I mean being peaceful, having a very peaceful and relaxed energy and presence in your session. When you have this type of energy, it's actually going to calm a client down because your client does pick up on your energy in the session. So like enthusiastic energy will lift a client up. Calm energy is actually going to calm a client down. And in many cases, especially if a client is overwhelmed or they're stressed or afraid, this may really be an interesting shift that they have just by picking up on your energy. So being calm and grounded. Now, you can go too far with having calm and low energy. If you're taking it too far, you might come across as being lethargic and unengaged in your client and the session. So you don't want to be too calm that you come across like you don't care, you're apathetic, you're unengaged. So there are, again, various times in which it's going to be helpful to be enthusiastic and other times when it would be more useful to be calm. Times when you might want to take a more calm energy, low energy approach with your clients is when your client is having moments where they want to reflect, they have a deep introspection, or they're looking to like have some kind of contemplation in order to move themselves forward. Having a more subdued and low energy would be really beneficial in those cases because it will invite them to go into that space where they can explore their thoughts and their feelings without feeling rushed or without feeling overwhelmed with high energy. Also, if your client is dealing with a more sensitive issue or emotional issue, then having a more calm and low energy can really help create a safe and supportive environment, which could be really what they need so they can start to connect to whatever they're feeling and move through those emotions. So these are different areas in which your client would benefit from having low energy. Now notice what kind of assumptions that you might have around how a successful coach needs to show up in a session, right? Maybe you think that coaches need to be high energy all the time. This is absolutely not true. I've actually found like sometimes having that low energy is key. It's crucial to have with your clients. And other times having more enthusiastic high energy could be really beneficial. So as we wrap up, to kind of put a bow on this conversation on coaching styles, you might overall wonder, what is the approach and style that you really use? Well, it's ultimately going to be an individual preference, okay? So it might be something that you vary based off of the client. So some individuals will respond more to a softer approach. They might respond to a more low energy approach. Other clients might thrive more with a challenging coaching style or a more high energy enthusiastic coaching coach that they're working with. So I recommend that you switch it up a little bit when you're working with clients to notice the way they engage with you and see what types of different responses the coaching style evokes in them. All right, so that's one of the things. Also thinking about long-term versus short-term goals. So remember, when you're having a client that has a short-term goal, then sometimes it's going to require a harder push. Whereas if it's a long-term goal, the client may benefit from a softer approach. So notice, what is your comfort level currently when you coach? What are the assumptions of how you think you should be coaching all the time? And how can you experiment with another coaching style? Now, in Thriving Coach Academy, we teach you really how to find your unique blend of coaching that's going to serve you and serve your clients, and also how to show up with these different styles so you can experiment with them. We teach you how to hold space and support your clients with a more softer, gentler approach. We also teach you how to challenge your clients and be more direct and be able to call out things that your client is not recognizing, those blind spots. And I remember when I had gone through various trainings years ago, I was kind of upset because I was only taught one coaching style. I wasn't taught how to really challenge my clients. I was taught how to be like the more gentle coach that is really good at holding my client's hand. But I wasn't taught how to sometimes give my client the loving kick in the butt that sometimes we need. So that's one of the reasons why we teach how to challenge our clients, and it's so important you know how to do both. All right, so that's what I got on the different coaching styles. Now, I will let you all know, if some of you were kind of thinking of enrolling in Thriving Coach Academy, we are going to be increasing our tuition with the start of the new year. So this is just a gentle notification, being fully transparent so there are no surprises. If you've been on the fence with Thriving Coach Academy and you want to take advantage of our lowest tuition, then this is the best month to get started right now. You can go to our website, you can message our team. I will text you directly if you're on our mailing list. I will answer the questions that you have, because there has never been a better time to join the academy, especially if you want to take advantage of our lowest tuition rates before the tuition will be going up in the new year. So before you go, I'm going to include a little snippet of a coach inside the academy so you can hear their story and be inspired by their journey. So enjoy their story, and I will see you in the next episode.
What led me to coaching was I went through a divorce 4 years ago, and I was in a place where I was really stuck and not happy, struggling, and just knew that my life wasn't where I wanted it to be. And I stumbled on a coach that did divorcing coaching. After I went through the experience of coaching, I thought, this stuff is amazing. It's life-changing. And then I looked into becoming a coach myself. So as a mom of 3, I spent the last 2 decades raising kids and doing everything for them, and just giving of myself and putting everyone else before me. So for me, when it came time to consider doing the Coach Academy, I was a little bit nervous, but I also knew that deep in my heart that this was like something that I've always wanted to do, that I've always wanted to help people in a way that was going to make a big change in their lives. I could cry right now just thinking about how this is really, it's been amazing. I think it's been so empowering that I've been able to put myself first in a way where I always was giving to everyone else and helping everyone else to get where they needed to be. And finally, like, putting myself first, it's just helped me to see myself in just a more powerful and evolved way. And it's helped me to realize what I have to offer. It's very emotional for me because it has been so life-changing for me. Now to realize that I actually have the knowledge and the skills and the gifts to be able to do that for other people is kind of overwhelming. So if anyone is worried about being too sensitive or too emotional to be a coach, I just want to speak to that, because that is something that I realized through the program, that our emotions are a part of us, and it's a very important part of us. And being able to be sensitive to your emotions and emotional is something that helps you to relate with people better. And through the program, I've learned to honor my emotions and how important it is to feel what we feel and to be able to be sensitive to the feelings that we're having. So it really is a helpful thing to have, is to be sensitive and emotional, because you can relate with people on a deeper level than you would imagine. So I think if that's your worry, it's something that's going to help you to be able to connect with people easier. It has just changed my life so much in so many ways, even with how I relate with my kids, how I relate with my friends, how I've learned so much more about how to be healthy in relationships. It's really affected every area of my life. And it's helped me to realize that it's okay to put me first, and it's okay to have my own hopes and goals and dreams, and to believe in myself. And in doing so, I mean, I've made my kids see me as a stronger, more powerful woman that really is like the best example we can have and give our kids, is to actually do something and have them see us do it instead of just talking about it or thinking about it. So in that way, it's just been like a win all the way around.
Hey, would you like access to powerful coaching tools you can use on yourself and clients right away? For being a listener of the podcast, I'm giving you a VIP guest pass to get a sneak peek into my coach training program. Inside, you'll learn our coaches' secret tool they use to transform their clients' lives. And you'll also get a training on how to launch a coaching business. Just head over to www.thrivingcoachacademy.com/VIP to get started. I'll see you on the inside.